welcome you on into the Big Time Sports Podcast Show. It's Mitch Spinell and Mitchell Bally here for another episode of talking around the world of sports. Mitch is going to be back this week, and we're coming off championship week. We're coming into a week where we're going to be seeing more tournaments in play. Obviously, the Masters down in Georgia. We have a number of games left to go in baseball as the season is getting underway, and we're getting to the end of the NBA regular season.
Yeah, Mitch, I'm in a great mood because baseball is back in full swing, and that's no shot at any other sport. I think I've been very vocal since episode 1 of the Big Time Sports Podcast Show. Baseball is my favorite sport, and the Guardians have played a big factor into why I'm so happy. I can't wait to talk about them later this show. I also can't wait to cover all the area high school sports going on right now because baseball and softball are back, and there is always a ton of talent both in your respective county and mine and all around Northeast Ohio year in and year out.
No doubt. And you may be seeing some of the upcoming talent for this season on the Big Time Sports shows. We take you into this week at Big Time Sports, where we tell you all the upcoming broadcasting for Big Time Sports, whether it be on your local television channels or via BigTimeSportsOhio.com. We have on the Big Time Sports show this coming Wednesday at 7 p.m. and Friday at 10 p.m. Malone University softball. Among those, Malone coach Jeff Heat, along with an upcoming recruit for Malone's softball program, and Mia Rose, the star pitcher for Indian Valley, and a number of other guests there as well. You can see that Wednesday at 7 and Friday at 10 p.m. And then we have members of the Oak Shadows Golf Club, or representatives from the Oak Shadows Golf Club, coming on Thursday at 7:30 and Saturday morning at 8:30. Now, as for the games on Big Time Sports this week, we'll be seeing a heated softball match coming this Tuesday at 5 o'clock start, streaming on BigTimeSportsOhio.com. You will be able to see the Tuscarawas Central Catholic Saints take on the Strasburg Tigers. Obviously, Strasburg getting out to a hot start this season at 6-0 currently. We'll see if the Tigers can keep that hot streak going against the Saints. Then on Thursday, we will see the Dover Tornadoes against the Tuscarawas Central Catholic Saints. By the way, that Tuscarawas Central Catholic versus Strasburg game, you can find the replays of it on Tuesday at 10 p.m. and Wednesday at 4 p.m. And as for the Dover Central softball game, you'll be able to see it on replay this Thursday at 10 and Friday at 4:30. Now on Saturday, you will see a replay of Jackson Boys' volleyball tournament. That game will be there. That match will be replayed at 6:30 p.m. and Sunday at 1 p.m. So be sure to look out for that on BigTimeSportsOhio.com or your local cable listings. We have Spectrum channels 15 and 989, as well as MCT 128. You can also go online to WIVMTV.com or hit us up on Twitter at BTS Ohio, and be sure to download the Local Broadcast Network app, the LBN app, or go to localbroadcastnetwork.com. All right, Mitch. So we start off now with us talking about some local baseball and softball matchups, and a couple of key ones here we've had in the last couple of days. I saw Glen Oak taking on Massillon early on this week. Obviously, a number of teams getting their seasons off to a good start. Kind of take us through who's the team to talk about in Stark County for the start of the season.
Well, Mitch, let's go ahead and start with last week. Last week you and I were kind of like, well, it's opening week. Some teams haven't played yet. They had. Then there was the weather delay on Wednesday that pushed everybody back. So let's kind of recap, starting with Federal League play up here in Stark County. So you have obviously 7 teams in the Federal League, which means one team is always off. So first, Lake, they were off last week from Federal League play. They did defeat Akron St. Vincent St. Mary's to win. So they will now enter Federal League play this week. Let's start with Hoover and Glen Oak. Those two teams squared off last week, Mitch. Glen Oak, a team that has a lot of promise around them. They have a number of Division I commits, a number of young talent. But Hoover is very well coached under head coach Brian Ashby, and they went on the road and defeated Glen Oak 8-1 in their season opener. And then Thursday, Glen Oak went to Hoover and beat the Vikings from North Keene 8-4. So both teams now 1-1 in Federal League play. Then last night, Glen Oak went on the road and took on the Massillon Tigers, a game in which Glen Oak won 6-4. So now heading into Federal League play this week, Glen Oak is 2-1 overall, 1-1 in Federal League play. We'll get to their matchup coming up this week. Green and McKinley played each other last week in Federal League play to open the season. Green came back from a 5-0 deficit in the first game of the season to defeat McKinley 6-5 at Green High School, a very gritty win for the Bulldogs of Green. And then on Thursday, McKinley blanked Green 3-0 at Thurman Munson Memorial Stadium, a game, Mitch, in which both teams had one hit, both coming in the first inning. So there was a number of errors, some big time sacrifice flies, sack bunts, RBI ground out, moving the runners over. Productive at bats for McKinley, but the Bulldogs of Canton McKinley kept the Bulldogs of Green High School scoreless. And then both teams now 1-1 in Federal League play. Last night, Green lost 6-0 to Brecksville. So now Green is 1-2 overall, 1-1 in Federal League play. The last two teams in Federal League play last week, Mitch, and perhaps one of the hottest teams right now, Jackson and Perry. Jackson defeated Perry 11-1 on Tuesday night at Jackson, and then turned around and played Perry on Thursday at Perry High School. Perry led 1-0 through 4. Jackson then scratched and clawed and was able to put some runs on the board. They defeated Perry 6-1. So Jackson at that point then, Mitch, was 3-0, 2-0 in Federal League play, where Perry was 0-3 and 0-2 in Federal League play. But Mitch, the reason I say Jackson's kind of hot, Jackson then went to Toledo this past weekend for the PBR High School Invitational. It's a round robin tournament of 8 teams. Jackson went there last year and lost in the championship to Walsh Jesuit. Jackson won their first 2 games by a score of 4-3, only to face the number 3 ranked team in the state of Ohio for Division I, Walsh Jesuit, yet again in the championship, in which Jackson came back and scored 2 in the top of the 7th to defeat Walsh 4-3. Jackson goes undefeated in Toledo, winning all 3 games by the same exact score of 4-3, and knocked off the Warriors of Walsh Jesuit High School. So now Jackson sits at 6-0, the only team so far through the first week of Federal League play at 2-0. Obviously, Lake has not played yet, 0-0. And now they welcome in the Glen Oak Golden Eagles tonight. So that'll be a big matchup here in Stark County. Glen Oak is a team last year, Mitch, that finally got over the hump and beat Jackson for the first time since 2015, a game that I was a part of, actually. And so now Glen Oak, with some of this top upperclassmen talent, will look to get back on track and keep things rolling and try to stop the Polar Bears and hand them the first loss tonight. But through the first week of Federal League play for baseball, Mitch, it was all over the place. And you see that really. Perry, a lot better than what the score indicated versus Jackson, 11-1. They are very, very young. And the only reason I bring that up, Mitch, is because it's only going to be a matter of time before, in the next couple of years, we're talking about the Perry Panthers being one of the teams that sit atop the Federal League. And you saw just how good they can be. They had the bases loaded in the first inning against Jackson. Some inexperience cost them at the plate with some freshmen and sophomores coming up. And then they had a 1-0 lead over Jackson. But then yet again, when you look at the two teams, Jackson with some more upperclassmen and top returners that were all Federal League last year, the experience obviously helped Jackson get those 2 wins. Perry, though, Mitch, is going to be a very intriguing team. And right now, we talked about it, you and I, off the air. The Federal League coming into the season was going to be wide open. It sure seems that way after 1 week of Federal League baseball.
No doubt. We're going to be keeping tabs on those scores throughout the season. We also had stuff going on in the Tuscarawas County area for baseball standings, in which right now we have the Inter Valley Conference. At the top of the South, we have Sandy Valley at 4-0, at 3-0 in conference after the Cardinals picked up a couple of in-conference wins there. Conotton Valley is the top of the North right now. They are 3-1 compared to their 3-0 record in the IVC. But Newcomerstown has won a couple of games here, starting out 3-0 on the year. We had just had a conversation a while back with their head coach. Be sure to check that out on our YouTube channel, as well as all of our podcasting platforms. But it was a great it's been a great way for Newcomerstown to start the year. Buckeye Trail and Strasburg just behind them in the standings. And on the South, you have Highland, Indian Valley still unbeaten in conference play, while Tusky Valley and Garaway sit just behind. I mean, some of the recent games we had last night we had Strasburg ending up winning over East Canton. So that was a game there. Orville this is outside the IVC, but Orville picks up a road win over Fairless, and Indian Valley was able to hand Garaway its first IVC loss of the season as the Braves won 9-5 in a game that was tied at 1-1 going into the 5th inning. Then the Braves dropped 6 runs in the top of the 5th. Garaway gets a couple scratches here and there, but Spencer Haney is able to get the victory for the Braves. He nearly went the distance, allowing 5 runs on 8 hits with 7 strikeouts. Peyton Keller couldn't quite get the win for Garaway, 7 hits and 7 runs over 4 innings. And then Cale Kochman and Samuel Zurcher were able to lead the offense well enough for the Braves to get to 4-1 on the year. A lot of these teams will be facing off, by the way, this coming Wednesday as the IVC is going to the back-to-back slate for this upcoming baseball season. Now, on the side of softball, it's Strasburg, man. Strasburg is dominating, like we said, during this week in Big Time Sports. They are 6-0 on this season so far. They just got back from a trip to Myrtle Beach where they were able to take on multiple schools, including a couple of Division I teams. And Amelia Spidell shined in that tournament. She had 2 no-hitters in that one. And the Tigers were able to come back and scratch a couple of wins together. Their most recent one coming this past Monday, in which they scored 10 runs in the first inning against host East Canton, and they're able to win 17-0. So Strasburg has been dominant so far this year, and we will see if they're able to keep their winning streak going against a Central Catholic team that's given them a couple of problems in the past. So that is what we have here for the first segment of the Big Time Sports podcast show. When we come back, we get into more topics from around the sports world right after this. Hey there, folks. This is Mitch Spinell, and I want to give you guys a quick message regarding 988. If you don't know what 988 is, it was created to make it easier to remember how to get help in the event of a mental health or addiction crisis. This is different than a medical, fire, or police emergency where 911 should still be called immediately. 988 connects you with Stark County's Crisis Center, which is equipped to help people in emotional distress or experiencing a mental health or addiction crisis. So remember, 911 for medical, fire, and police emergency help, and 988 for support in overcoming a mental health crisis in Stark County.
Buying a home has never been so affordable with record low interest rates. Hartzler's Quality Housing is ready to put over 40 years of experience to work for you. Family owned and operated since 1978, Hartzler's has a wide selection of model homes on site with a knowledgeable team to help make your new home a reality. Open 6 days a week, visit them off I-77 in Dover or online at hartzlers.com. Hartzler's Quality Housing. Quality from start to finish.
You deserve the best. And at Ferris Chevrolet, Buick, Cadillac, Toyota, that's what you get. We consider you, the customer, to be part of our family. Anybody can make promises, but when you visit Ferris, you get the Ferris deal from a Ferris wheel. So if you're looking for a car, truck, or van, think Ferris.
You invest a lot in your home and vehicle purchases. Van Nostrand Young and Associates want you to feel secure should anything happen to those investments. We partnered with providers like Grange Insurance and other industry leaders to be sure you're presented with the most complete coverage to fit your needs. Because we're not only here to protect the items you invest in, we're here to protect your future as well.
Call Van Nostrand Young Insurance in North Canton at 330-497-1867.
We all have 206 things in common. Our bones keep us up and moving. And we at Cleveland Clinic Union Hospital care about every single one of them. From the tip of your finger to a brand new hip, our orthopedic experts will keep you going while keeping you safe. For every break and breakthrough, for every bone and joint, for every care in the world. Get the care you need when and where you need it. Visit unionhospital.org.
Wendy's without the Wendy's app is like Nugs without the sauce. Or a Frosty without the fries. Or a hamburger without the fresh beef. No! Level up. Get the app to order ahead, order delivery, earn free food, and get app-exclusive offers. One app, all the Wendy's.
Offer for a limited time at participating Wendy's. Terms apply. App registration required. Fresh beef available in the contiguous U.S., Alaska, and Canada.
Vive Auto Sales, located on West High Avenue in New Philadelphia and Cleveland Avenue in Canton, is a used car dealership committed to getting financing for everyone. We give every customer that walks in our showrooms a prime buying experience, no matter their credit score or financial situation. Current inventory can be viewed at www.wefinancenow.com. Check out our Facebook pages for the most up-to-date information about upcoming events and promotions happening at Vive Auto Sales.
Get out of the dugout and onto the field with help from Velocity Sports. Velocity Sports is a baseball and softball training academy with locations in North Canton and Canal Fulton. Our new Canal Fulton features 10,000 square feet of training space with 6 cages for hitting and pitching and a large commercial weight room. Velocity Sports will sharpen your skills and get you in the starting lineup. For more info, go to velosportsohio.com.
And we're welcome back here to the Big Time Sports Podcast Show. We go now from high school baseball and softball over to our discussion for college basketball, because we've reached the end of the college basketball season. We have crowned a pair of national champions, one on the men's side, one on the women's side. Mitch, we saw last night one of the most boring national championship games I have witnessed in the last couple of years, in which Connecticut, as expected, won over San Diego State. I really would rather just talk about the Final Four when it comes to the men's side, because Connecticut beat Miami. We kind of figured that was coming. But the San Diego State game where they took on FAU, and FAU nearly had it. And then Lamont Butler makes the jumper in a situation which I thought San Diego was going to call a timeout, and they didn't. And I was like, oh, I don't know if they're going to regret that. And then they obviously don't. I mean, it's like 2011 again, man. Connecticut kind of got hot at the right time. Some people were saying, this proved they were one of the best teams in college basketball season. I don't necessarily know about that. I mean, you lose in some of your conference games. That was sort of one where I was like, okay, maybe I think it was more of a case of them finding their right streak at the right point. But give credit to Dan Hurley, man. That's a program that looked to be dead after all the things that happened, 8-9 years ago. And now they have returned as a legitimate blue blood program, especially in the age of the transfer portal and obviously NIL deals.
Yeah, so starting with the men's Final Four, Mitch, I was without power for about over 8 hours on Saturday. Obviously, I wanted to watch the Final Four, but at the same time, it was like, okay, where can I go to watch it? Because there was a number of places and bars that have TVs that you go to that were without power too. So my dad and I, we turned to the old transmitter radio that's battery powered. So we listened to the FAU San Diego State game on a radio in the dark. And honestly, it was a lot of fun because there was nothing else to do. You could really listen and key in on everything going on. And just what a game. I mean, obviously, you could go back to social media eventually and see the final shot. What a shot it was by Butler for the Aztecs to win and to take them to the national championship game. But FAU was right there. On the flip side, I got to watch the Miami and UConn game, and it kind of went like we expected. But to your first point, Mitch, that it was one of the most boring national championship games you can remember, I am right there with you. And I know a lot of my friends feel the same way. My dad and I felt the same way watching that last night with one of his buddies. It was just kind of like, what's this? There was no juice, right? I mean, there's been some national championship games we've watched that has just been so hyped up. I mean, last year with North Carolina beating Duke in the Final Four, their arch rival, to advance and play Kansas. And you thought, oh my gosh, is North Carolina really going to do this in their first year under Hubert Davis? We know Kansas won, but I think it says more about UConn than it did about San Diego State in terms of why the game was kind of right? I said it was a snooze fest is really how I felt about it, because there was really nothing going on. You had 11-minute, 7-second stretch in the first half where San Diego State did not score. It was just a very long drought for them. To your point about, where the Huskies underseeded, there's going to be a lot of talk about that, Mitch, because a 4 seed that now has the 4th largest margin of victory in an NCAA tournament in the history of the tournament is definitely going to look underseeded right now and probably later on down the road. So they are 4th all time in margin of victory. The average margin of victory for UConn in the 2023 tournament was 20 points per game. The only teams better than that, 2009 North Carolina at 20.2, 2016 Villanova at 20.7, and 1996 Kentucky at 21.5 points per game average margin of victory. What's really interesting, Mitch, is I pulled up some numbers here. The Huskies were number 2 in adjusted efficiency from the start of the season till December 30th, right? They were one of the top teams. I can't remember. They may have been ranked number 1 for a quick minute. If not, they were all the way inside the top 5. That I know for a fact. After December 30th, they dropped to number 30 from December 31st to the end of January, where they had lost 6 of 8 games. And that is when head coach Dan Hurley said, you better get us now, because once we get this figured out, you're not going to be able to get us. And he was right, because as soon as that calendar turned to February, They were number 1 or number 2 from February all through March in adjusted efficiency. And of course, number 1 now in the month of April. So it was just a dominant run. They had their little stretch there where they were in a lull. They were 17-0 in all games outside the Big East this year. That's a big number, Mitch, because you see a lot of these teams that, oh, they're not battle tested. Well, UConn played some decent teams outside the Big East, and the Big East was a very respectable conference this year. They turned it around, and here they are now, like you mentioned, after about an 8 or 9 year period where it was just not looking good for UConn. Danny Hurley gets the Huskies back to the promised land for their 5th national title in dominating fashion. Just from watching the game last night, San Diego State made a great run, Mitch. They really did. I mean, this is a team that we had some bias that we didn't pick getting out of the first round against Charleston, let alone we probably didn't think they were going to beat Alabama. And then it's like, okay, well, they're not going to beat Creighton. They beat Creighton. It's, well, FAU is really good. And they hit a game winner, which was the only game winner in terms of being down when you release the ball and the ball going through the net after the buzzer sounded this tournament, which is crazy to think. It took us to the Final Four to get that. But it was a very entertaining tournament overall, right? The national championship game doesn't speak to the magnitude of what we saw in the opening round, 32, Sweet 16, Elite 8, so on and so forth. The national championship game was just kind of a dud, and it was UConn flexing and showing that they were the best team once the tournament. I mean, according to stats, they had been the best team since February 1st in all of college basketball, and they went on to prove that. And so congrats to the Huskies, a team that had a lot of young players too, Mitch. So now the question is, do some of those players go to the draft? Do they come back and try to run it back to repeat, which, like we've mentioned before in the show, has not happened since 06, 07? We'll have to wait and see. But all in all, a boring game, but a large part of that thanks to UConn just dominating San Diego State.
Yeah, he had most outstanding player of the tournament, Sonogo, having 17-10 in that one, and that wasn't even the top performance. Tristan Newton had 19 points and 10 rebounds. He also had 16 points in there from Jordan Hawkins, who has been a very solid scorer for the Huskies. I mean, if anything, we did get the final send-off for Jim Nantz as the longtime broadcaster announced this is going to be his final tournament rather. And, you know, he went out with a very solid message as only Jim Nantz could. And, you know, it's going to be a little bittersweet to not hear him next year, but that's the way you want to hear someone like him go out, especially when he's still going to be plenty busy throughout the rest of the year. He's got the Masters coming up. You got, that's ESPN now. You have football season coming up here soon, a number of other ones as well. I mean, he's still going to be busy, but this is just one where it's going to be, we're going to have to move on from him.
Mitch, he's one of the best of our generation. One of the guys that we've literally listened to our entire lifetime, and just the rigorous schedule he goes through. This is obviously called Jim Nantz week because he does the Final Four. He does the entire NCAA tournament, and then he does the Final Four, and then he jets right to Augusta. Because he ends up doing the final rounds of Augusta for the Masters. And so just, you know, they call it Jim Nantz week, but it's a heck of a schedule. But to your point, he'll still be in the booth with Tony Romo. He'll still be doing Masters, but I can't imagine what this type of week is like for him to know that you're calling 3 basketball games and then you literally go to sleep, wake up, and you head to Augusta to get ready for the Masters, which, you know, is the most prestigious golf tournament there is in the world. And so just, he's one of the best. And the way he signed off last night to end the broadcast was just chef's kiss, the best way he could have, because everybody knows him for hello friends when he opens up a broadcast. And so last night, thanking everybody for being his friend was really sweet. And Ian Eagle now, Mitch, I believe, is who steps in to call the Final Four games for CBS. I like Ian Eagle a lot. It's going to be a little different, though, without Jim Nantz, because that's what we've been used to our entire life.
Yeah, it'll go Eagle, Kevin Harlan, and that's still a good roster for CBS to have. This is the other part I wanted to get to as well. This is a rare instance where this year I watched more of the women's championship game than the men's championship, because I watched about 2 minutes of the men's game. I'm like, all right, I know UConn's going to win. I didn't know who was going to win LSU versus Iowa, because Iowa had been riding the Caitlin Clark train for the last couple of games, and deservedly so. I mean, you end up beating a number of good teams in the tournament, and then you take down the juggernaut that was South Carolina at 36-0, now 36-1, after Clark drops 41 points in a game. And then you have that LSU squad who, I think some people underestimated going into the game, but their offense came to play. You had, what was it, 4 players, or no, excuse, yeah, you had 5 players in double digits scoring, 3 20 points or more. Just a solid game all around, and the Tigers were able to win 102-85. Clark had her points. I mean, 30 points. She had that a little bit of foul trouble. She had that technical that she and another teammate were charged to that some people said turned the tide of the game. But I give credit to LSU because Kim Mulkey has turned that program around. When her second or third year, she's been able to capture her 4th national championship. And I mean, it's a fantastic game, and it got a lot of good ratings. I believe it was the highest rated game of all time for women's basketball, 12 million, if I'm not mistaken. And obviously the talk of the post game was you had the one player, and I'm trying to make sure I got her name. Adele Reese, yeah. She did the whole celebration thing, like mini celebration, to Caitlin Clark's face after Caitlin Clark, I think, did it after the Final Four victory, and everyone was comparing the two. And it's like, personally, I just don't want people to be showing up others in general. I'm a guy, when you're on the field or court or wherever whatever surface you're playing on, you just got to keep it level. Keep it level. Even if you're winning big, keep it level. If you're losing big, keep it level. And then after the game, if you have something that's within reason, then yeah, go ahead and celebrate what you were able to accomplish. But I don't know. That kind of dampered what otherwise was a fantastic game from beginning to end.
Yes, absolutely. And unfortunately, Mitch, it was more talk of that after the game than it was about a phenomenal national championship game that gave women's college basketball the spotlight that it very much deserves, right? I mean, this tournament for the women's side for Division I was phenomenal. I watched a lot of it. It was a lot of fun. LSU wins this game and they finished 34-2. Mitch, their 2 losses were to South Carolina in the regular season. It's not like they lost to a bad team. They lost to, at the time, I believe, 37-0 South Carolina, who I would then beat in the Final Four game. But yes, afterwards, you see Angel Reese doing the John Cena "You Can't See Me" directed towards Caitlin Clark.
That's what it was.
Yep. Pointing to her ring finger, saying, "Ring me," because we just won the national championship. I come out here a little different. I think that when it comes to sports, and you see it in professional sports, right? Obviously you can name off guys who just trash talk all the time, even when it's not deserved, like Pat Beverly. Sometimes, he has the wonderful box score of like 2 points, 1 assist, 1 rebound, and lots of trash talk. Caitlin Clark, though, Mitch, also did that against the win after Louisville, but she did it all season too. And it's just my whole thing is people don't like to talk. You need to have the context that she did it all year.
Sure.
And then after the game against South Carolina, Mitch, there was the clip of her giving about 12 to 15 feet to a South Carolina guard, of not even guarding her at the perimeter.
Right, yeah.
And LSU said, that's pretty disrespectful, because if you guard us that way, we're going to make you pay. And lo and behold, Mitch, Jasmine Carson, who had 11 points scored in the entire tournament, comes off the bench and hits 21 points in the first half for LSU. And so LSU did prove that if you're going to leave us open, we're going to make you pay. I think trash talk is all part of sports to a certain degree, right? There's obviously where you can go over the line, but I just don't like the fact that this has become more of a Angel Reese did it towards Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark did do it all year, and you can, Mitch. And if you dish it, you have to be able to take it. And I haven't seen her comments. It didn't look like it really bothered her.
No.
I kind of have more of an issue with the whole pointing at her ring finger than I do of doing this when Caitlin Clark's done it all year, if that makes sense. But you then saw that night, LeBron James has a fast break dunk in the NBA, and then he's walking down the court taunting somebody. And we see it all the time. It was more so the fact that it was a national championship game on the biggest stage there is, and it was the most viewed college game for women's basketball ever. At the end of the day, though, I think LSU had a very good game plan, and they made Iowa work for everything.
Yeah.
The officiating is a whole different story, which we won't go into because I think we could probably talk about that for the entire show if we wanted to. It wasn't good. That's all I'll say for both sides. And when you look at the final score, Mitch, I don't think the technical foul they gave to Caitlin Clark really factored in. Did it?
Yeah.
I mean, the free throws they got to shoot for the technical foul were both missed anyway.
Yeah.
So And by the rules, if you throw a ball like that, it is a technical foul. I don't like the call. I'm just saying I don't like the call, but by the rules, it's that. But LSU in Kim Mulkey's second year wins their first ever national championship. I believe they had 9 wins the season prior, Mitch. And she now joins Gino Auriemma and Pat Summitt as the only coaches to win 4 national championships for women's basketball. And she becomes the first women's basketball coach to win with 2 different schools, obviously with Baylor and now LSU. So a dominant run. And Mitch, obviously we have a long ways to go, but Angel Reese will be back, who broke the record for most double-doubles in a season in women's college basketball. And Caitlin Clark will be back for Iowa. We could see both these 2 teams in the same spot again next year. And that's a really good thing for women's college basketball.
That would be an interesting matchup. No, it's very cool. I like that Reese is coming back. I like that Clark returns to, and there was a talk about like, oh, is she the best college basketball women's player we've ever seen? I think she's had the best tournament run we'd ever seen.
Yes,
for sure. I mean, there's been in my lifetime, a lot of great women's players. The first one I remember comes to mind was Candace Parker.
Yes.
Sabrina, I'm never going to get her name right. Ionescu. But
I
before her, Brianna Stewart. That was another one. Maya Moore, obviously, if we're going to just go talk about UConn players alone.
Adike Ogunbowale for, was it Notre Dame the year they won it all?
Yes, that was the year too, where I think it was 2018 when Notre Dame beat South Carolina in the championship game, when she made a Final Four buzzer beater and then made the buzzer beater in the championship game. And I was like, this is awesome. This is cool.
Yeah.
And then I think that year, I can't even remember who won the title in 2018. Was it North Carolina? Roy Williams' last men's championship, whichever one it was. I remember that was another year where the men's game wasn't quite up to snuff with the excitement of the women's side. But hey, it kind of goes back and forth each and every year. And I'm hoping we have a pair of good games next year. All right. So when we come back, we'll go. Actually, no, first of all, excuse me. We wanted to talk about a certain team that was also victorious that we wanted to crown. We wanted to give a big congratulations to the Ashland girls basketball team, who was able to win the Division II national championship against Minnesota Duluth this past Saturday. What a victory for Ashland's squad, for the Eagle squad.
They finished the perfect season, Mitch, 37-0. They had a tough road there. They actually beat a team I'm familiar with, the Glenville State women's basketball team, a team that was in the conference that I was a part of in college, the defending national champions that were going for back-to-back crowns, and they were also undefeated. So it was a battle of the unbeatens in the Elite Eight, I believe, or maybe the Final Four, and Ashland beat them, and then they go on to win 78-67 on Saturday afternoon, dominating fashion. Annie Roshak, a North Canton Viking, Hoover grad, 20 points and 13 rebounds. You have a number of other contributions. We have a lot of local kids there, both from our respective counties, Mitch. And so what a season. I mean, Ashland they were up 20 points at halftime, 18 points at halftime.
Yep.
It was never really close. And then to just close out and go 37-0, that's incredible, because you hardly see that often. But Ashland going all the way to win the D2 national championship for girls basketball is quite the accomplishment. So a big congratulations to them as well. And, maybe we're looking to hopefully get some of their players on here soon to talk about this incredible run and wild ride. So we'll have to wait and see if we can, pull that off. But just a huge congratulations to Ashland on D2 national champions.
You mentioned some of those players. You mentioned Roshak, who is a North Canton Hoover grad. Haley Smith was from Canton. She ended up going to St. Thomas Aquinas. And other ones include Meredith Randulick from Massillon Perry. And then on my side, you have Morgan Yoder and Zoe Miller, both from Berlin Highland. All right, so that is what we have here for college basketball. When we come back, we'll be going into professional basketball, as well as, the third segment, Guardians. We have Guardians play. We are a week into the season. Let's talk about it right after this.
The Furby Electric Supply Company has bright ideas for your home. Save money by converting to energy-efficient electrical products, or add ambiance with beautiful lighting features. It begins with a professional consultation and a visit to the Furby Lighting Showroom. Then certified Furby contractors complete your project right and on time. Since 1934, 4 generations have built a reputation of quality and trust, and they offer emergency services too. Just visit Furby.com. That's Furbay, the Furby Electric Supply Company.
You asked for it and we listened. Buckeye Career Center is now offering Certified Nail Technician as an adult education program. This 216-hour course begins in November and will run Tuesday through Thursday evenings from 5 to 9 p.m. Learn manicures, pedicures, infection control, salon operations, and more. Other part-time certification courses starting this fall include phlebotomy and welding. Call 330-339-2288 to register or visit BuckeyeCareerCenter.org for more information.
If you're looking for a new or pre-owned car or truck, why not see the Parkway Auto Group? Parkway is a special group of automotive experts with 8 brands to satisfy your needs. Come see the difference at the Parkway Auto Group on Commercial Parkway in Dover. 8 brands and 1 family. It's Parkway Auto Group.
Fall is in the air and part-time career enhancement courses at Buckeye Career Center are on the horizon. Registration is now open for Introduction to Beekeeping, Basic Small Engine Repair, and Sign Language. These part-time offerings run on Tuesday evenings and begin in November. Let Buckeye Career Center help you learn a new skill or advance your current skill set. Call 330-339-2288 for more information or to reserve your seat in one of these or our other part-time classes.
You matter. Everyone plays a part. We all have a role. Each of us can make a difference. You do matter, and the best way to have a positive impact is to pay it forward. With each of us helping one another to cope, feel better, and know that we belong. Pass on the positivity today. Tell someone else they matter too. Alt Care.
Alt Care, Alt Care. Where you matter.
We all have 206 things in common. Our bones keep us up and moving. And we at Cleveland Clinic Union Hospital care about every single one of them. From the tip of your finger to a brand new hip, our orthopedic experts will keep you going while keeping you safe. For every break and breakthrough, for every bone and joint, for every care in the world. Get the care you need when and where you need it. Visit unionhospital.org.
And we're back here on the Big Time Sports Podcast Show. Mitch Spinella and Mitchell Bella talking baseball right now as we go over to a start to the Guardian season that has started off with a bit of a sour note. You lose your opening game, but then you go into the next 4 matchups. You win 3 in Seattle, and then you win 1 out in Oakland. Mitch, last night in Oakland, the Guardians had to work their way back a little bit, then gave up a lead, and then were able to capture a victory in extra innings when it easily could have been slipped away. I mean, I give the Guardians a lot of credit for sticking true and getting a solid performance, especially out of your top player in Jose Ramirez, who had the game-winning RBI hit in the 10th inning. And before that, even a huge run scored on a short sacrifice fly in the later stages of the game.
Mitch, this was a game that, it's early in the season, and for some reason, they always struggle in Oakland. No matter how bad Oakland is, it's always a tough place for them to play. And to see Zach Plesac really struggle, only go 1 inning, doesn't get an out in the second, gives up 6 runs. It was kind of like, you know what? Here it is, the little drop off lull, whatever it is, after getting 3 of 4 in Seattle. And this team did what we were so accustomed to seeing from them all last season. They battled back. They never gave up. They never really just said, you know what? We'll come back tomorrow. And they went for it. And they could have easily folded a number of times, Mitch. They battled back to make it a 1-run game. Oakland hits a 2-run shot to make it 8-5. Then the Guards come back and take a lead. And then Emmanuel Clase gives up 2-run homer, or back-to-back solo jacks, or 2-run homer, one of the two. It was late. Okay. I can't remember.
Yeah, it's 2-run.
For them to tie, that's where you could have said, oh man, our dominant closer just gave up a 2-run shot. But no, this team never folded, and they went out and they won. They've won 4 in a row now. They're now 4-1 on the road trip. They have Bieber going tonight in Oakland, which is a great sign, because realistically, Mitch, if you would have said, all right, they're going to start in the West Coast, how do you want them to go? I would have said they can go 4-3. That'd be great. Really a split with Seattle I'd take. But now if you can go 5-2 or 6-1 before coming back to Cleveland, that's a great start to the season. And really, it's been contributions from everybody. I mean, look at some of the pitching performances we've had. Aaron Savale, you have to give him his credit. Game 3, that dominating performance in which the Guards won 2-0. Even Evan Gattis, or Hunter Gattis, excuse me, did the best he could for a person that really didn't expect to be starting Game 2 of the season for the Major League Ball Club. And then you look at Cal Quantrill didn't have his best stuff, but the team battled back and stay in it. To take 3 of 4 from Seattle, in Seattle, a team that you were 1-6 against last year, Mitch, that's a great start to the season. And it's a quick turnaround because you open up in Cleveland with Seattle this upcoming weekend. But just the kind of pulse you get from this team already is we have unfinished business. We know we're going to have a target on our back, and we're going to still do. We did all last year. I mean, there was numbers of hits in that Seattle series. The Stephen Kwan little bloop hit over the third baseman's head to hit the foul line. It was like, oh, we're back. We're so back. The hits that we saw all last season. I'm happy with where they're at right now. Obviously, it's still very early in the season. There's a number of teams that have got off to disappointing performances, a number of teams that are kind of surprising through the first weekend, first 5-6 games, but I'm happy with where the Guards are at. And my biggest takeaway is we have a catcher that hits for power, Mike Zunino. 3 extra base hits on Sunday against Seattle, which was the first time since 2013. The last catcher to do that was catcher Carlos Santana when he was still a catcher for the Cleveland Indians at the time.
Right.
They moved him to first base. And really, Will Brennan, Mitch, him and Oscar Gonzalez kind of platooning to start the season. They both have had some big hits and big plays. Last night, Brennan with a strike to home plate to cut down a runner on a play at the plate. I'm very happy with where they're at, and Jose comes through in the clutch like we are so accustomed to seeing him do. Really, Josh Bell hasn't done what I've expected him to do, but
no,
like I said, it's 5 games. I'm not hard pressed yet. Josh Bell, I think, will be just fine.
Give it the first month before we have any cause for concern. I mean, I was looking at the standings here to see what the disappointing starts would be, and before that, the Guardians start to the season is great, but we're getting kind of forgotten about right now in this early stage because the Twins are 4-0. They're one of the last 2 unbeaten teams. Minnesota's gotten off to a very solid start. They've only allowed 5 runs as a team, which is tied for the least amount in baseball right now, along with the other undefeated team in the Tampa Bay Rays, who are ahead of the Yankees, who are also off to a good start at 3-1. 2 teams that are off to a good start, 3-1 in the West, is a team that you kind of shadowed as a potential contender in the Texas Rangers this year. Their offense has been able to do some good things, as well as the LA Angels, who I think this is this could be an interesting year for them. If they get those 2 guys right, then things will be good. Although Anthony Rendon just got a 4-game suspension for an altercation with an Oakland fan. As far as the disappointing teams go, in the American League, you have Toronto 1-3, Detroit and Kansas City both 1-3. We didn't think they'd be great. Seattle 1-4. I mean, our success was their demise, and right now they're kind of having to build their way back. Philadelphia, what's going on in Philly? They're 0-4 right now. They've given up 37 runs to opposing ball clubs. This is a team that was a game away or 2 games away from the World Series title last year, and they're struggling. The only other team that can really shadow on is maybe Chicago. The Cubs aren't doing great. They're 1-3, but right now it's still very early. So we're kind of just seeing where a lot of teams are laying the groundwork for this upcoming campaign. And it's hard for me to make true judgments of what's going to continue into the year. Again, give it a month, then we can talk.
No, I completely agree. And to your point, our success was Seattle's demise. Absolutely. And you have, Mitch, they're going to be mad. They're going to come to Cleveland and say, you ruined our home opener weekend. We're going to come to Cleveland and try to do this to you. And so it's going to be very entertaining when they square off here in Cleveland. Toronto, obviously, off to a rough start, but the Phillies, you're right. 0-4, 12 runs scored, 37 given up for -25 run differential. This is a team, Mitch, that a lot of people are picking to win the division or make the playoffs and make another deep run. And it's not like they're missing pitching. They're missing Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper isn't responsible for giving up 37 runs. So their pitching just has not been there yet. Is it a World Series hangover? I'm not going to call it that because, like we both said, it's still early on in the season. There's a couple teams that are, look, the Astros are 2-3. Do we really think they're the 3rd best team in the West? No. The Twins are 4-0. They swept Kansas City, which you rightfully should. And so some people are already saying, oh my gosh, can the Twins lose? I'm nervous already. It's like, folks, we are 4 or 5 games into the season. We're fine. There's a lot of baseball to be played. And so we'll wait and see what happens. But I'm just happy baseball's back. There's been some awesome performances already. There's been some some teams that are surprising. And so we'll have to wait and see who it is, because Mitch, I feel like every season there's always a couple of teams that get off to hot starts. And then the good teams are kind of like, oh, you know what? We should probably get going here. And they kind of wake up, and you see it every year. So it's what team is going to fold or whatnot. But I think my biggest takeaway so far, Mitch, is the Mets. Justin Verlander doesn't even make his first start in the season, going on the IL. Then you have yesterday, Carlos Carrasco, former fan favorite here in Cleveland. Mitch, there's a cause for concern with him because he had 10 fastballs under 89 miles per hour, which is a significant velo dip for someone of a starting pitcher, or especially of Carrasco. And they got blown out by the Brewers yesterday, 10-0. And so already there's already talk. The Mets are cursed. Still early, but it just doesn't look good right now to start the season for the New York Mets.
I believe Carrasco also got a violation before he ended up throwing his first pitch in that game due to the pitch clock. He wasn't able to get it there on time. And that's something they'll have to figure out pretty quickly if they want to get that pitching staff in order. All right, when we come back, we'll be going into more segments here. One more final segment here on the Big Time Sports Podcast Show. Hey there, folks. This is Mitch Spinell, and I want to give you guys a quick message regarding 988. If you don't know what 988 is, it was created to make it easier to remember how to get help in the event of a mental health or addiction crisis. This is different than a medical, fire, or police emergency where 911 should still be called immediately. 988 connects you with Stark County's Crisis Center, which is equipped to help people in emotional distress or experiencing a mental health or addiction crisis. So remember, 911 for medical, fire, and police emergency help, and 988 for support in overcoming a mental health crisis in Stark County.
Are you trying to increase your speed, quickness, vertical leap, and agility? If so, NST Sports Performance is for you. NST trains athletes ages 5 through pro. NST designs each program specific to the athlete's needs, goals, and sports. For more, visit nstsports.com. Locations in North Canton and New Philadelphia. It's nstsports.com.
It takes a lot of practice to have a winning team. Albin Title has over 100 years of combined experience handling real estate, title, and escrow transactions. They serve Tuscarawas, Stark, Carroll, Harrison counties, and more. So choose Albin Title for your next home refinance, sale, or purchase. They'll get it done quickly and professionally. Contact Albin Title at 330-334-5800 or visit their website albintitle.com. Let them put their experience to work for you.
Hard work is something you're accustomed to. Van Nostrand Young understands that principle. Our access is achieved with organizations like Grange Insurance. Safety and prevention specialists utilize our VanCan assessments process to ensure that you and your colleagues are in the best hands. You want the safest environment for your business, and we can guide you there.
Call Van Nostrand Young Insurance in North Canton at 330-497-1867.
If you're purchasing a new home, the team at Hartzler's Quality Housing is here to help. Take advantage of record low interest rates to make your new home a reality. Locally owned and operated since 1978, Hartzler's Quality Housing has the experience to guide you through the process. You'll find a wide selection of model homes on site to fit any budget. Open 6 days a week just off I-77. You can also visit them online at hartzlers.com. Hartzler's Quality Housing. Quality from start to finish.
You deserve the best. And at Ferris Chevrolet, Buick, Cadillac, Toyota, that's what you get. We consider you, the customer, to be part of our family. Anybody can make promises, but when you visit Ferris, you get the Ferris deal from a Ferris wheel. So if you're looking for a car, truck, or van, think Ferris.
Wendy's without the Wendy's app is like Nugs without the sauce. Or a Frosty without the fries. Or a hamburger without the fresh beef. No! Level low. Get the app to order ahead, order delivery, earn free food, and get app-exclusive offers. One app, all the Wendy's.
Offer for a limited time at participating Wendy's. Terms apply. App registration required. Fresh beef available in the contiguous U.S., Alaska, and Canada.
Get out of the dugout and onto the field with help from Velocity Sports. Velocity Sports is a baseball and softball training academy with locations in North Canton and Canal Fulton. Our new Canal Fulton features 10,000 square feet of training space with 6 cages for hitting and pitching and a large commercial weight room. Velocity Sports will sharpen your skills and get you in the starting lineup. For more info, go to velosportsohio.com.
And we're back here on the Big Time Sports Podcast Show. Mitch Spinell and Mitchell Balla. Mitch, let's talk some NBA. We don't have much to talk about with the Cleveland Cavaliers because they only have a few games left in the regular season. However, there is an injury report for Tuesday's game against Orlando. Dylan Windler's out. Haven't said that before. Isaac Okoro, however, is out for the game with a knee injury. Do you think of this more as the Cavs are trying to get him ready for the postseason, or do you think this is a significant injury that could cause him to miss time even going into the second season?
At first, Mitch, I thought this was more so let him rest up, get healthy, get ready for the playoffs. But after the Cavs win over Indiana on Sunday night, JB Bickerstaff said he didn't really have the information to give reporters the answer to the question, is this something that could linger into the playoffs and affect Okoro's availability, which to me is a little bit for cause of concern because, Mitch, he's had a couple good games this year in terms of offensively contributing, obviously the big shot in Brooklyn a couple weeks ago, but he is a guy that can really defend, and you would really like to have him on the floor when you take on the Knicks, as it's, not set in stone yet, but it looks like that's what's going to happen. The Cavs magic number is 1 for everybody out there. Either a Cavs win or a Knicks loss in the last 3 games will clinch the Cavs home court advantage in the first round, which is vital. But this is slightly concerning now, Mitch, because I thought they were doing the same thing with Jared Allen, and then Jared Allen has come back and played since then. And after JB's comments the other night, I'm not sure which way this is going to go now.
Well, nevertheless, Donovan Mitchell having a heck of a performance again, 40 points, his 12th 40th point game of the season, which is a Cavs record. And that game for the Cavs eliminated Indiana from playoff contention. So they're really the only team left that's outside of the bubble that still has a shot somehow is Orlando. Okay, so they're tied with Washington right now for the league record, but Washington is eliminated even though they're technically above Orlando in the standings. It's a weird thing that they got on the website. Yeah, the Cavs and Knicks have both clinched playoff spots. Probably going to see them again in the upcoming 4 versus 5 round. And then we have most of the East spots set. Washington's not going to make it. Orlando's not going to make it. So it's going to be Miami, Atlanta, Toronto, and Chicago in the play-in. And then, but if Brooklyn were to slide and Miami were to win these last couple of games, they could get to the 6th spot and take on Philadelphia. I don't see that happening. So Brooklyn, despite not having 2 of their best players that they started the year with, are going to make it out of the play-in. They're going to get shellacked by Philly in the first round. I hope so. Then we have on the West, it's a little bit more interesting because Denver, Memphis, and Sacramento have already set up 1 through 3, pretty much. Phoenix still in the open. They haven't still clinched a playoff spot technically. LA hasn't still technically clinched, and Golden State hasn't technically clinched. That is because the Lakers, of all teams, and the Pelicans as well, have kind of made this push to maybe get outside the play-in because Phoenix is at 43 and 35. 2.5 games ahead of LA and Golden State, who are 41 and 38. Who'd have thought those teams would be 5 and 6 to start the year? And the Lakers are at 40 and 38, so they could still clinch a winning season. Same with the Pelicans. They are 3 games back of Phoenix. So if either of those teams goes on a streak, and I could see Golden State losing these last couple of games, or maybe LA losing the last couple of games, we could see the Lakers make it in as a non-play-in team, which is fascinating to me, considering the way not only we've kind of overlooked them all season, but some other teams that have had some very good talent, one in particular, has really just dropped off the map and is one slip up from officially being knocked out. I want to talk about this team, Mitch, because it is just a blatant fall, like the lowest of falls a team can make midway through the season.
Mitch, this is a team that was in the Western Conference Finals last year. And this is a team that made a trade at the trade deadline that was splashy and flashy because you get a guy named Kyrie Irving, but it didn't address any of the needs the Mavericks had issues with so far this year, which are defense. And now you're right, Mitch. They're one slip up away. And really, it's not even that they control their own destiny.
No.
They are one game behind OKC in the standings. Truthfully, it's 2 because OKC holds the tiebreaker. Mitch, both teams have 3 games to play. If OKC wins 1 game, it's over. Dallas is out of the playoffs. If OKC loses out and Dallas wins out, Dallas is in. But if Dallas does not win out, they're out. And so I have it right here in front of me, their next 3 games. And so let's start with Oklahoma City. Mitch, it doesn't get very easy for the Thunder. They will be at Golden State. They will be at the Utah Jazz. And then they will come home and play the Memphis Grizzlies for game 82 of the regular season. That's not an easy schedule.
Nope.
Because the Utah Jazz, Mitch, are still not officially eliminated yet. So they have something to play for. The Mavericks take on the Sacramento Kings at home, the Chicago Bulls at home, and the Spurs at home. If they can beat the Kings, it's likely they're probably going to win their last 2. I mean, the Bulls, like we said, they're pretty much locked into the playoff spot. The Spurs have nothing to play for. Right now, they're playing for who can get the best odds to go get Victor Wembanyama. Mitch, the Mavericks aren't making the playoffs. I have no issue sitting here right now today saying they're not going to make the playoffs.
If this report from Shams Charania turns out to be true, I will buy into your claim. Shams reported it was Monday morning, that he told the Mavericks organization, or he's told the Mavericks organization is seriously considering, air quotes, shutting down Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving for the final games of the season. But I think that would probably have to be if they see Oklahoma City win their next game. And once Oklahoma City does that, then there's no reason to play them. Just get it over with. Get these guys some rest, and then maybe ship out or allow Kyrie Irving to go to sign with another team. I don't know. They were number 5 in the West on February 6th when they make the Kyrie trade. They've now fallen down all the way to number 11. And everybody looks miserable. Everybody looks miserable at the Dallas games. You saw the most recent one, especially where they played Atlanta on Sunday night or Monday night, and Christian Wood misses a free throw down 1 with like a few seconds remaining, and they can't get the ball back. It's a rough watch that in Dallas, and I don't know. That's the thing. I mentioned on the radio the other day, we saw the value that Jalen Brunson brought throughout this season when Dallas let him go to sign with the Knicks, and I wouldn't say he's been like the most valuable player, but he's been able to be a very solid number 2 and at times a number 1 this year for New York. And the defense in Dallas is bad. Kyrie isn't able to do enough to offset those problems that he and Luka can tandem up. They can't quite solve all their issues to the point where you go into this offseason, you have a lot of questions you have to answer if you're Dallas.
Absolutely. And if you let Kyrie Irving walk, Mitch, then you're in a really big hole because you traded some pieces that were really helping you for nothing, practically. You traded pieces for a player that when he is available and healthy is a very, very talented player. But if you let him walk, then what do you do if you're Dallas? And look, has Kyrie Irving went to 3 different organizations, well, really 4, and killed them, figuratively speaking? Yes, you can make that argument. Obviously, he kind of ended the run in Cleveland, and then Boston, and then Brooklyn, and now Dallas.
LeBron ended the run in Cleveland. LeBron ended the run. Kyrie went to another team, but LeBron still made the finals that year.
Right. But I'm saying Kyrie pulling the stunt he pulled of not being happy and wanted being out, that really kind of had a trickle-down effect.
I guess so.
But in that game against Atlanta, it wasn't Kyrie Irving's fault. Mitch, he had 41 points. Luka Doncic, I believe, was 8 of 21 from the field, 22 points. And they listen, Luka's a great player. He's one of the best players in the NBA. This isn't slander, but I think egos play a big part. I think we've seen it before with Kyrie. I think we've seen it before with other players, because in my opinion, if Kyrie Irving was that hot from the field, he should have been one taking the final shot, because he's done it before in his entire career. And they let Luka take the shot to try to tie it or win it in overtime versus Atlanta, and he comes up empty. And now here we are. And this is just It's crazy to think that you mentioned in whatever the date was in February, they were the 5th seed in the West. And they made this trade and you thought, oh my gosh, they could be a team that's going to climb all the way up to 3. Maybe they get past Sacramento. And instead they've went the complete wrong way. And they're also at a spot now, Mitch, where it's not like they're going to have great odds to get the top pick in the draft. Obviously there's always a chance, but you want to be Detroit, or you want to be Houston or San Antonio if you want the number 1 pick or 2 or 3 pick, because obviously you have better odds in the lottery ball. But I think what's most intriguing here is the fall of the Mavericks and really the quiet rise of the Lakers, because like you mentioned, LeBron's back now. Anthony Davis has been balling. Anthony Davis has been playing great basketball right now. For as much crap as we want to give him, you really have to give him the respect he deserves in what he did with the Lakers once LeBron was out. And we kind of all thought, oh man, Lakers aren't making the playoffs. Now here they are. My question is, if you're the Lakers, you very well could still go up and get the 5 seed, which would put you in a first round matchup with Phoenix. They played the Jazz, the Clippers, the Suns, the Jazz, the Lakers' last 4 games. But Mitch, would you want to get the 5 seed? Or if you're LA and you can, do things the right way, wouldn't you rather be the 6 seed and go play Sacramento in the first round?
If you're going to be, well, no, Golden State would be, oh, you're saying if they want to shoot for number 5. Okay.
Yeah. Because they control their
Sacramento will be interesting because that's a team that's not very experienced in the postseason, obviously, as they've broken the longest postseason drought in professional sports. Even then, I still think Sacramento could take them even if it's an extended series. It would give them a better shot against a Phoenix team who I believe, if I'm not mistaken, beat the Lakers in the postseason. What was it, last year or 2 years ago?
2 years ago.
If you get stuck in the play-in, and even if you lose that first game and end up nabbing the 8th seed, there's no way that the Lakers would beat a Denver squad like that.
I think the Lakers are in a spot where if they can't get the 6th seed, you almost would rather stay in that play-in. Yes, it's 2 extra games potentially have to play or just 1. I kind of think I like their chances better versus Memphis, or call me crazy, Denver, than I do with Phoenix, because Phoenix looks good now that KD's back. And that team also had advantages in other places versus the Lakers a couple of years ago before they had Kevin Durant. So now you have Kevin Durant. It's like, do I like those chances? So I'm intrigued because I do think it's kind of you have to win, but do you have to win all the games to get the seed you really want and kind of see what happens? Like if the Lakers were to win tonight against the Jazz and it kind of would cement a spot for them between 1 or 2 seeds, I wouldn't be shocked if they rested LeBron and AD a game. I think it's going to be very intriguing to see what some of these teams in the West do to kind of adjust their playoff positioning here in the last week of the regular season to see if they know we would rather match up against this team than this team, right? I also think Phoenix and the Clippers would be a phenomenal first round series. I think that would be a lot of fun. I just think the NBA playoffs are going to be a lot of fun because the West right now, Mitch, as confident as I was early in the season saying I think it's Denver, I don't have that same confidence with them right now. I think the West is wide open.
Even as a 1 seed, even when they get the 1 seed, you're still kind of unsure about them, but I can understand considering the levels of competition from other squads. All right, that is all the time we have here on the Big Time Sports Podcast Show. I want to thank you guys for listening or watching here on YouTube. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SoundCloud. And, you can find us on BigTimeSportsOhio.com. You can find all of our articles and videos there. You can find us on at Twitter at BTS Ohio, on Facebook and Instagram at Big Time Sports Ohio, and at Mitch Spinella pretty much everywhere, at Mitchell Balla pretty much everywhere. Mitch, what's our fact of the day?
Your fact of the day is the Cleveland Guardians could still go 161-1.
It's not out of the realm of possibility, but
never been done before.
It is not. It is not. All right, so that is all the time we have here. Thank you for listening or watching the Big Time Sports Podcast Show.